early period. The term early period is an example of periodization, dividing the long expansive past times into ages or periods. These periods are spans of past times which literature shared intellectual, linguistic, religious, and artistic influences. In the Western tradition, the early periods of literary history are roughly as follows: the classical, the heroic, the Greek periods, the Roman periods, India's classical age, patristic, and the Renaissance periods. The Renaissance, 1485 to 1660 CE. The Renaissance is known as the fervent periods of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages. The Renaissance, which occurred from the 14th century to the 17th century, promoted the rediscovery of classical philosophy, literature, and arts. During these periods, some of the history's greatest thinkers, authors, statesmen, scientists, and artists flourished while global explorations opened up new lands and cultures to European commerce. The Renaissance is credited with bridging the gap between the Middle Ages and modern civilization. Darkness to light, the Renaissance began. During the Middle Ages, a period that lasts from the fall of ancient Rome in 476 AD, Europeans made few advances in science and arts between the 13th and 14th centuries, also known as the Dark Ages. The era is often branded as a time of war, ignorance, famine, and pandemics such as the Black Death. However, some historians believe that such bleak depictions of the Middle Ages were greatly exaggerated, though many agree that there was little regard for ancient Greek and Roman philosophies and learning at that time.
Humanism, a cultural movement began to gain traction in Italy during the 14th century. Humanism promoted, among the other things, the idea that the man was the center of his own universe and that people should give value human achievements in education, classical arts, literature, and science. In 1450, the invention of Gutenberg printing press allowed for improved communication throughout Europe and for ideas to spread more quickly. As a result of this advance in communication, little-known texts from early humanist authors such as those by Francesco Petrarch and Giovanni Boccaccio, which promoted the renewal of traditional Greek and Roman culture and values, were printed and distributed to the masses. Furthermore, many scholars believe that advances in international finance and trade influenced European culture and established precedents. Renaissance geniuses. The geniuses were Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519, René Descartes, 1596 to 1650, William Shakespeare, 1564 to 1616, Niccolò Machiavelli, 1469 to 1527, Michelangelo, 1475 to 1564. Native America and Europe in the New World on November 8, 1519. Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortes and a battalion of 400 soldiers entered and seized Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital of the Emperor Montezuma. Although contact with the Europeans devastated the cultures of the Native American groups, efforts were also to preserve Aztec verbal arts. Elizabethan period 1558 to 1603. Queen Elizabeth saves England from both Spanish invasion and internal squabbles at home. The early works of Shakespeare, Marlowe, Kyde, and Sidney marks Elizabeth's reign. The Ottoman Empire on the 10th night of Muharram in 1040, August 19, year 1630. Evliya Celebi dreamed that the Prophet Muhammad appeared to him and encouraged him to pursue his wanderlust, sometimes traveling in an official capacity and sometimes traveling as a private individual. Evliya Celebi recorded his observation in a vivid anecdotal style. The volumes of his Book of Travels provided an unparalleled account of life in the Ottoman Empire during the mid-17th century. Under Mehmed II, the conqueror, the Ottomans established an architectural style that symbolizes their imperial ambition, a new legal code, and a policy of imperial expansion. They continued and enriched Arabic and Persian literary traditions.
Catholic and Protestant Reformation. The Protestant and Catholic Reform movements were motivated by many common spiritual and intellectual factors. Both sought to return to what they considered to be a more authentic Christianity. By the end of the 16th century, Catholic Europe had splintered into several competing Christian confessions: Catholics, Anglicans, Lutherans, Calvinists, and Anabaptists. Faith in Christians and the Bible become the key unifying forces among the Protestants. Tradition and the papacy unified Catholics. The Council of Trent put into motion the Catholic Reform movement, which was also reinforced by the emergence of several new religious orders. Both reforms profoundly reshaped the religious, social, and political landscape of Europe.